Hey, how's it going everybody, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 Mods Weekly. So, last week we had a ton of mods, thanks to AnotherOne going crazy and dropping so much stuff, and this week, sadly, we did not get a huge drop like that again, but we do have some really cool, interesting mods to look at. So, let's go ahead and get started with Immersive Radiation by, well, AnotherOne, aka RetroPaladin. That's right, he came back with yet another mod. And this one is a really cool one. We actually just did a full review of this on the channel, but just in case you missed it, the Immersive Radiation mod is going to make radiation act a little more like it did in the past Fallout games. Now, it's actually separated from your health. So in vanilla Fallout 4, when you take radiation damage, it will actually eat away at your max HP. Whereas with this, it's a completely separate bar. Now there have been mods like this before, like Classic Radiation, except this one is actually integrated with Fall UI HUD, so they have completely separate widgets that are fully customizable. So, you have your health bar, and you also have your radiation bar. Now you'll notice that the radiation bar is actually segmented into 10 groups, and that's because each of which represents 100 points of radiation up to 1,000. And as you reach these different levels, you will actually get different debuffs. So, as long as you can keep your rads between 0 and 199, you'll actually be just fine, just like it was in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. But once you pass 200 and you stay between 200 and 399, you'll get a penalty to your endurance. After that, you'll get -2 endurance, -1 agility. A step further gives you -3 endurance, -2 agility, and -1 strength. This is where it really starts to get nasty. Followed by -3 endurance, -2 agility, -2 strength, and also your limbs and health will now start taking 0.1 damage per second. And what that actually means, aside from just taking a very minute amount of damage, is you'll no longer be able to fast travel. So, not going to really affect you if you're playing survival, but in a regular gameplay, not being able to fast travel kind of sucks. And if you somehow manage to get over 1,000 points of radiation, you will take -4 endurance, -3 agility, and -3 strength. And that damage will now increase to 0.5 per second. So it really does start to get nasty. Radiation is something you definitely want to avoid, even though it doesn't take away your HP right off the bat. This is a really cool idea and a really nice change of pace for radiation in the game, and I really prefer this system. Super cool, another great mod by RetroPaladin. Up next we have Modern Sodas by DangerMouse330. Another mod that we did a full review on earlier in the week, but yet again, if you didn't catch that, Modern Sodas is going to add some new modern sodas into Fallout 4. So, sodas that you recognize from your everyday life, like Dr. Pepper's, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Fanta, 7-Up, a handful of new sodas that will actually replace some of the items in-game. Now, they're not going to replace Nuka-Cola. In fact, they're going to replace the Gwinnett beers, which is fine because there is an overwhelming amount of alcohol in Fallout 4 already. So, now, instead of those Gwinnett beers, you will find these new sodas. Now, it's not just a texture replacer, it actually replaces the effects as well. So consuming these sodas will give you 100 HP as well as give you a point of radiation damage. This is a nice little lightweight mod to add some realism into your game. Well, at the very least, realism that brings things from the real world into Fallout. So if you don't like the Fallout 4 branding for whatever reason, which is fine, some people don't really like it, then this is pretty good for a replacer for you. This is a great mod if you're trying to carve Fallout 4 into more of a real-world survival simulator. This is going to add some real-life counterparts to the health items, and it's just a nice little touch. It's really cool to go out there and find some of your favorite things out in the wasteland. Or alternatively, you can use something like this as opposed to something like Corporate Wasteland, so that you actually integrate the real-world's brands with the Fallout 4 brands as opposed to just completely replacing them. Another really cool little mod. I like going out and finding Dr. Peppers and Coca-Colas in my wasteland now. It's a pretty nice little touch, and it just gives you a nice connection to the game with your real-world life. Up next, we have the Manurin MR73 by ShimSham. Yet another mod that we have a full review on, but the MR73 is a French revolver. 357, but we don't have 357s in the base game, so it does now shoot 38. But since that video, there has actually been a patch that you can download now that will convert this weapon to actually use 357 if you're also using the Cowboy Repeater mod. So that's pretty cool if you want to have the pure immersive experience. This weapon is not added to the leveled list. In fact, you will have to go out and find it. There is a unique version at the end of the Vault 81's secret vault. So, in the same room that you would find Curie, you can find this thing. And once you have it, there's a handful of really cool customization options. You can add some neat scopes, change the barrel length, and most importantly, throw on a bipod, which I thought was really silly, But it turns out that's actually a real thing. The French used this weapon as sort of a short sniper role, something that's really compact but has the extended range if you need it, as well as that increased stability from the bipod. So that's a really interesting, unique take on a revolver, and gives you a reason to download this one as opposed to just having a bunch of generic revolvers that all kind of look the same. This one actually brings something new to the table that is really interesting. While you can't deploy the bipod, you can equip it to your weapon, and it does look really nice. It looks super cool in first person, and I really enjoy this one. Moving on, we have another weapon mod, and that's going to be the Folding Chair by LeahTheUnknown. So now you can beat your enemies with a folding chair. This weapon is not added to the leveled list, but it can be crafted at a chemistry station. And there's actually 3 different versions that you can obtain. There is the regular folding chair, the black folding chair, which will do a little bit more damage, and additionally will stagger your enemies. And then there is also the rusted folding chair, which has the same damage as the regular one, except it also now does bleeding. So you will apply a bleeding effect when you hit people with the rusted chair. This is actually a really fun one. It uses vanilla animations, but the way that your character holds the chair and the way that it works in third person looks great. It's a little hard to see in first person, but once you switch it over, it totally just works. So if beating your enemies to death with a folding chair doesn't bring you enjoyment, then I really don't know what will. This is a really fun, goofy mod, but a pretty interesting one. I'd be down to see a leveled list version of this where raiders will actually attack you with this. It's a pretty interesting melee weapon, and it would be really interesting to see raiders charging you with folding chairs, and honestly, it's probably something that might actually happen. Up next, we have Frost's Plasma Weapon by DJFrosted. This takes the vanilla plasma weapons, the plasma rifle, plasma pistol, etc., and gives them a glowing effect, because honestly, they should have that. So now, whenever you hold one, it will actually light up the immediate area as well as yourself with a bright green light. These are filled with plasma after all, and it is constantly moving through the weapon, so why does it only emit light when you shoot it? Now it emits it all the time, so this is very noticeable when it gets dark. As you can see in the gameplay, when we walk around, there is actually a glowing amount of light all around us, and it also applies to anything that we walk near, as it is its own light source. This one is super cool, just adds a nice little bit of character to these weapons and another little bit of depth to them. I really like it, and it adds some really cool atmosphere, so definitely a cool one to try out. Nothing crazy, but just something that kind of should have been there from the start. And finally, we are checking out a definitely work in progress mod, and that is Fallout Costa Rica by Ricktardo. So this is the alpha version of Fallout Costa Rica, and you can definitely see that as we get to some areas in the gameplay. There are some unfinished parts of this mod, as well as some floating items and some clipping, but that is okay. It is a new world space, and these kinds of things are to be expected, and it's definitely something that's going to just improve over time. So we may check on this mod occasionally, because this is a really cool world space. I like it quite a lot. It is a tropical vibe. It has some really nice rolling hills and some verticality that we're not used to experiencing in Fallout, so I really enjoy it. To get to this area, you actually need to find a boat, which is right off of the coast of the airport, and as soon as you travel, you will be taken to the coastline of Costa Rica, and from there you can walk just a little bit of a ways and start finding the village that is there. There are a handful of locations that you can fast travel between, and like I said, as you start to go towards the edges of the map, you can start finding some unfinished areas, but there is a lot of stuff to explore right off the bat. There are inhabitants on the island, there are some NPCs who actually have their own little village, as well as a lot of wildlife. You can immediately start finding crickets from Nuka World, as well as the gator claws, and a nice handful of other surprises. I even found a bull, which is the male version of a Brahmin, I suppose, which I'm sure that's in the vanilla game, or at least in one of the DLCs. I just don't really remember which one. Probably Nuka World, but like I said, never really encountered that before, so that was a nice surprise as I was walking around. Definitely a really cool mod, and I'm excited to see where it goes. New Worlds mods are always really fun, and this one could be a nice little twist, having something tropical to explore that's not part of the US. So, really cool mod, and if you want to try this mod or any of the mods out that were in this video, check the links in the description. We will have everything listed down below. And if you enjoy any of these mods, go out there and support the mod authors. Do anything you can just to show your appreciation. Endorse, donate, anything within your capacity just to show that you care and appreciate all of their hard work. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, all that stuff that gets us into the algorithm and gets more mod recommendations to the people that are looking for them. And if you ever want to catch a stream sometime, I have been streaming Fallout on Twitch as well as a couple other games. The links to that will also be in the description, along with our Discord link. So I hope to see you guys in any of those places. And once again, I hope you enjoyed. Peace!